What's up, guys? EDA here, and we're going to be doing a preview of this weekend's Premier League football, primarily focusing on the title race and the games that Man City and Arsenal have respectively. But we'll do a quick skim over some of the other important games in the Premier League. First, looking at the table, you can see that Arsenal are currently top, 1 point ahead of Man City with one game in hand. As mentioned, we know their respective fixtures this weekend, and we'll go into it in a little bit more detail across the rest of the Premier League. Key points to note: Chelsea climbing up the table. It looks like Aston Villa have potentially pulled away from Tottenham. However, if Tottenham win their game in hand, they'll be 4 points behind, and potentially if some victories swing their way, they could still fourth at the end. But it looks to be Aston Villa's for the time being. Rest of the table, pretty insignificant. Man United have dropped considerably. That's coincided with Chelsea's good form. And at the bottom of the table, it looks like the three promoted teams will be going back down, which is quite sad to see, unless Luton can pull off a miracle getting, I would say they will need at least 4 points from their last two games, and they'll need Nottingham Forest to lose both of their last two games as well. So they're asking for a lot, but we shall see what they are actually capable of. Going into the two big games this weekend, firstly, looking at the slate of all of the Premier League games. Again, kicking off Fulham versus Man City, 12:30 kickoff. Again, as an Arsenal fan, hoping and wishing something is going to come out of that game. Our destiny is not in our own hands. We need Man City to slip up. We need them to drop points. We need a team to come with a performance. Wolves were unfortunately unable to do that. And now it's Fulham's turn to step up and see what they can do. Again, most likely Man City will pull out a victory, probably a comprehensive victory, but part of being a football fan is wishing, hoping that your team, all the teams you need to pull off a result, can do exactly that. And so we shall see. Looking at the rest of the fixtures, again, a lot of teams have kind of put themselves in steady positions. Bournemouth, Brentford have made sure that they're safe. Everton again, safety. Sheffield United were kind of long adrift of Premier League safety as well. Newcastle have secured a position in mid-table, same as Brighton. Tottenham still playing for something. Burnley again looks like all hope is gone from their side, and I think they are actually relegated. So again, Tottenham have something to play for if they can pull off this victory and their game in hand. They could look to push Aston Villa to the last day of the season for that fourth place and get Champions League football. West Ham, Luton again. Luton probably have a lot to play for, West Ham less so. And then Wolves and Crystal Palace, which I believe is going to be one of the sleeper games. Two teams who have kind of edged themselves into the Premier League for next season. But I think there's a lot of excitement going on in Crystal Palace, and Wolves have had a good season as well. Nottingham Forest versus Chelsea. Again, I think it's going to be my actual sleeper game. I think Callum Hudson-Odoi getting 2 goals last weekend, playing against his former team. You know how the City ground can rock at times as well, so I think that's going to be a really good game. And on Sunday, the single game that we have is Man United versus Arsenal. Firstly, we'll kick off going through Fulham versus Man City. Again, not too much to go into in terms of the individual teams, apart from just saying that Man City have been in electric form whole of the 2024 year. They've been absolutely electric. I don't think they've actually lost the game so far. Only teams that were able to take points from them were Liverpool and Arsenal in the league, I believe. And so they've been a model of consistency, and they look to kind of continue that and kick that on. Having Haaland and De Bruyne in key form, having Foden come back into the team is going to be big for them. And yeah, I see them running out as victors. My hope is in Fulham, particularly around Munez, a player that I mentioned in one of the previous preview shows that I rate a lot, and I'm hoping that he can come up with some magic. Willian or Wobie, again, it's kind of, if we're being honest with ourselves, clutching at straws, hoping that Fulham can do it. But if you look back at the Arsenal game against Fulham, they dropped points. Liverpool at a period of time had problems with Fulham when they went to Craven Cottage. So you have to take those things into consideration and know that Man City still need to turn up. Man City still need to do a job. And if they turn up anything less than who they need to be, they can drop points. They were very close to dropping points against Nottingham Forest at certain points of the game, and they don't want to be in a similar position. So yeah, I'll give it to Man City. I think where they'll have the advantage, obviously, kind of in terms of quality all across the pitch. I'll look for them to play in between the lines, look for the likes of Foden, Bernardo Silva, get that width where possible from Walker and Guardiola, even though they're not exactly, attacking fullbacks per se, they can add a level of width which will allow teams to be stretched and those inside passes to be found to those creative players who can, within seconds, turn the game around. We've seen it with De Bruyne, we've seen it with Foden, we've seen it with Bernardo Silva and Haaland as well. So the quality is there. And if I was to put money on it, I'd put money on a Man City victory, probably a 3-1 victory. But again, I'm going to be dreaming. Marco Silva's done really well with Fulham. I think they've had a really good attack. Their defence hasn't been as strong as you probably would have wanted it to be. If we look at their most recent fixtures, you can see that they've drawn their last two games, a 0-0 draw with Brentford and a 1-1 draw with Crystal Palace. They did lose to a 3-1 to Liverpool, as mentioned. Was a competitive game up to a point, and so if Fulham can keep themselves into this game, get the crowd behind them, there's a lot they can do. Looking at the Man City fixtures again, they've been on fire. 5-1 against Wolves. Wolves put up a mediocre fight, if I'm going to be honest with you. Nottingham Forest should have got something from that game, and that's a game that we potentially look back on and say, there was a missed chance there. Brighton again were dominated by Man City, and Chelsea narrowly lost to Man City in the FA Cup, which was Man City's kind of reprieve from dropping points against, getting knocked out by Real Madrid on penalties in the Champions League. So that game will set the scene for what is a massive game. Two storied rivals, Man United versus Arsenal. Again, what can you say about this rivalry? Over the years has been electric. Two teams which dominated the 90s and the early 2000s. And there's a lot of elements riding on this game. Looking at it from Man United side, we think about Ten Hag. I honestly think that he needs to potentially leave Man United. I think the problem is more wide ranging than him, but I don't think he's the man to fix the problems that Man United have. So he's not the be all and end all of what they're experiencing at this moment. But I think there could be someone better at fixing the mess and someone that's more in line with where Man United go. And that's a point in itself. Where do Man United want to go? What kind of team do they want to be? They seem to chase the next superstar, chase the next big name player with pedigree, and it seems to fail. And so they need to have a deep, hard look at themselves of who they want to be and identify their core players, such as Kobe Mainu, Garnacho, Hoyland. Questions about Rashford, but I believe they need to really have a big shift in mentality, not only the team but the fans as well. And it's something that Arsenal fans can attest to. When Mikel Arteta came in and Unai Emery was here, and he was trying to probably bridge the gap a little bit, whereas Mikel Arteta went more fundamental. And in the time that we last beat Man United at home, which was I believe 2020, during the COVID pandemic at Old Trafford, we've seen elements of growth from Arsenal that we haven't seen from Man United. From an Arsenal perspective, they know they've got all to play for. It'll be interesting to see. I guess we'll never know what impact the Fulham result will have, either positively or negatively. If Fulham were to get something out of the result, would that put more pressure on Arsenal? Would we see a potential performance and a collapse like we saw against Aston Villa? That's a question. Or will we see them rise to the occasion? There's no way of knowing, because depending on that result, we'll see what Arsenal turns up. Again, I'm hoping for a shocker. But either way, Arsenal need to do their job to get the game to the last game of the season. That is the most important thing to me and a lot of Arsenal fans, that we take this to the last game of the season. And even if we don't win the league, of course we're going to be disheartened. How could you not be? You've played 38 games, you've kicked every ball with the players, and the players will feel it, the club will feel it, the manager will feel it, especially the fans will feel it as well. But I would feel so much better knowing that we beat Man United at Old Trafford. We went home against Everton, beat them on the last day of the season, and Man City just went on an incredible run in the league, and they're the deserving champions, and we've got to go again next year. I feel a lot better about this year than I felt about last year, and I take a lot of pride in how we've performed in the big games. Where last year we potentially faltered and failed, and getting 4 points out of six this season against Man City, as opposed to, I believe in the league we got none against them. So yeah, a lot to look forward to in this game. We haven't got the predicted lineups from Footmob as of yet. There is a number of injuries from a Man United side, as you can see. Potentially, we've seen Rashford and I believe Martinez go back into training. Whether they're going to be fit for the game is a question, to be honest. But I expect a stronger team than they put out against Crystal Palace. That performance was not good at all, and it's a number that sum up Man United, their performances, the amount of shots that they concede on goal. It's not healthy. It's not healthy for the fans. It's not healthy for the players. Definitely not healthy for the manager. Again, we'll look at team form very quickly. The 4-0 loss that Man United had, Crystal Palace absolutely destroyed them. The 1-1 draw against Burnley should have probably got more out of that game. The 4-2 victory against Sheffield United, where Sheffield United, I believe, took the lead twice. The win against Coventry City, where Man United were 3-0 up, and then Coventry were able to take it back to 3-3. And then the 2-2 draw against Bournemouth. So a mixed bag of results, to say the least. But Arsenal can't take this team lightly, no matter the results that they've had or the injuries that they've had. They are still more than a competent team that will look to rise to the occasion and spoil Arsenal's party. Most definitely, there's an incentive to do that. And looking at the Arsenal results, again, been pretty much flawless. 3-0 victory against Bournemouth at home, the 3-2 victory against Spurs away, the 5-0 victory against Chelsea, which was phenomenal, the 2-0 win against Wolves. They've been near enough impeccable outside of the Aston Villa result, and obviously losing in the Champions League to Bayern Munich. But again, expect them to come out, and Arsenal need a big victory here. A win at Old Trafford at any time of the season is massive, considering we've only won, there 3-4 times in like 30 odd years. So it would be big. It would be a statement victory, and I'm hoping that Arsenal can do it. I'm hoping for a good game. I'm hoping that Man United turn up, and we see two Premier League heavyweights battle it out. Looking back at the matches again, two major games to look out for: Fulham versus Man City, Man United versus Arsenal. My sleeper games will be Wolves versus Crystal Palace and Forest versus Chelsea. Hopefully you guys enjoy the slate of games this weekend. I'll catch up with you after the big moments of this weekend, primarily probably Fulham versus Man City and Man United versus Arsenal. Hopefully you enjoy it. Leave your predictions down below. Make sure to like, subscribe, and follow for more football content. Peace, guys.